Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I have a very interesting and important guest that I want to interview so that we can bring forth some of the things that he's here to bring forth into the world and inspire people with, because I believe his mission is imperative and so important for the future. And so here we have Angel Ribo.
Hi.
And Angel was actually brought to, we were brought together on account of a very dear friend, Bill Bennett, who is doing a movie on intuition. And intuitively, he knew that you and I needed to come together.
Exactly. For some reason.
I know. So for some reason, and after talking to you, I just couldn't believe how amazing your mission is and what you're all about. So I wanted to bring you on my YouTube channel just to tell the world what you're here to do and what your inspiration and the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you everybody who is watching me today. So yeah, my name is Angel. I don't know if that was already a premonition from my family or not.
I know, it's perfect.
Thank you. I came, so I always make that joke, but I was born, you know, in Spain, near Barcelona. And my life has been all about traveling internationally.
Yes.
And, you know, getting to know very powerful people in all those places that I traveled.
And you speak 5 languages.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Thank you, exactly. And I said it's funny because, you know, my family was like a middle class family in Spain. But not my mom nor my dad had ever traveled anywhere. But since I was in school, they wanted me to learn foreign languages. You know, so I was, at that point in time, English was not taught in school, in the public school system or in the private school system. And so I learned French in school since I was like 11 years old. And then at the same time, I was learning English outside my normal school hours. So I ended up like high school already knowing pretty well French and English, besides Spanish and Catalan, which is the language that we speak in Barcelona. So that was the start. So for some reason, my parents that never traveled before, they knew they had to give me that possibility that would allow me to travel. Fast forward, I lived in 8 different countries. I've conducted business in more than 33 countries. And I always, again, I was always contacting very powerful people. My job was always to contact the CEOs, the presidents of the boards, the people that were making the decisions in those companies. And that's how, you know, fast forward, and after a spiritual experience in 2015, I decided to leave the corporate world and have a business for myself, and also act upon my life purpose, which is helping underprivileged kids in Latin America become entrepreneurs using the local resources. So throughout my life, I've always felt like I was very, very privileged and lucky to be able to learn the skills to connect with very powerful people in the world in a lot of different countries. But at the same time, I knew that all that was a lesson and was a journey to help the ones that need it the most, which is the underprivileged kids, which are our future.
Wow. So you are working with the people at the top, the CEOs, and now you're going to help the people, well, not at the bottom, but, you know, the underprivileged, those that need the help the most. How are you able to bring this together?
Exactly, that's a great question. Actually, I have to confess that for a few years when I left the corporate world and I was, you know, developing my own business and at the same time launching my foundation, Wisdom for Kids, I said, okay, so I have to answer that question because it's so powerful. How can I possibly ignore my previous life in order to help underprivileged kids? So there's 2 different ways I always answer this question. Number one, what we teach at Wisdom for Kids in Latin America, what we teach is entrepreneurship. Yes. And obviously entrepreneurship, that means that your ability to go from a concept, an idea, onto something which generates value and wealth to the rest of the world. So definitely the CEOs have a lot to say about that. And number 2, as soon as I share my mission in my life purpose with very important people, they all want to say something. They all want to help me monetarily or with their advice or even with their testimonials. So then I come, when I launched in 2017, I launched Wisdom for Kids, or we launched Wisdom for Kids. I started receiving those messages from my CEO clients and friends saying, we would love to be in the camera to actually inspire your kids.
Wow.
So they started recording for me, or for us, they started recording videos in which from very humble origins, really humble origins, they were able to actually give explanation, hope to those kids. And I remember one CEO, he was so generous, he is so generous that he even made the effort of not only shooting a video to inspire the kids in Latin America, but also to translate it. So he was for an entire week rehearsing how to say the same thing in Spanish. And he actually eventually he shot the video in Spanish. He doesn't speak Spanish, so that you know. But he explains his personal story, his journey from a very humble origin into becoming the CEO of a group of companies right now.
Incredible.
Exactly. And I have another I know that you're very related and you like India. Yes. For many different reasons. Yes. So one of the CEOs that I interviewed was in charge of the organization that actually brings together all the IT Indian companies in the US. Everybody knows that they're so important. You know, people in India are so smart, and there's as you know, there's hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people from India in the US working in the IT sector. Yeah. So this guy was bringing together. He led the organization that brings together all the IT companies with India origin that are based in the US. I mean, can you imagine his influence and his ability to impact? So his origin was so humble. He told me I was born in that city, that small town, really poor, and I could hardly, you know, make or have a normal life, and I was suffering so much. And today he's not only a successful, very successful person, but also he's supporting those kids in India so they can have a better future. So imagine bringing that onto our kids in Latin America, that they see someone, you know, with very humble origins as themselves, have really hope that they can achieve great things in life.
So you understand what it takes for these people to learn and grow, to be a part of the world and help humanity in such a powerful way.
Exactly.
Wow, I love that. Well, you know, I couldn't help but look at your horoscope just because, I mean, Angel is doing the work that is changing humanity. That's one of the main reasons why I want him to be here and tell us about his work, which is so powerful. And I couldn't help but look at your chart. So let me just go into a few things, which, please. Yes, you think you're a Leo sun sign, but you're really a Cancer.
Okay.
And with that, Cancer is the sign of love, compassion, helping humanity from the heart energy. And you have the sun in Cancer, and it is relative to how you want to give advice to others, because I'm looking at this chart. It's like relative to the 5th house, and the 5th house is giving advice to other people. And so you are the person who advises others to, you think it's all, well, you don't think it's all about business, but it's really about changing people's hearts and changing their consciousness and their mind to excel and be who they really came here to be in this world. Your chart reverts to that you're here to change humanity from that level. And one thing I want to predict for you is this year, you're going to be doing a lot more travels, international travels. I know you travel internationally all the time anyway, but this is going to be a year where your teaching, your speaking will be more public and more global. So, yeah, so I wanted to give you that little information about your chart, but really, you're an amazing soul that has the most divine purpose to help uplift the young that need it. And you know, I love Latin America and the Latin cultures because they're mystical. They have a sense of what's beyond this world, and they're connected to it, the spiritual realm. It's just a part of who they are in their culture, and you connect with that so beautifully. And I think you have this essence of working with the spiritual and the material all at the same time and bringing them together. And that's the wave, I believe, of the future and what's to come. Do you want to comment on that a little bit, Angel?
Well, let me tell you, I have chills right now. And that means that we are especially connected to the source with what you just said. Let me tell you that, or let me tell you to your audience, that we never spoke about this, that I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
So when we started to think at Wisdom for Kids, how are we going to make an impact in only a couple of hours to thousands of kids? We said, okay, so we're going to come up with a workshop. It's going to be really transformative. It's going to be a transformation for the lives of those kids. How can we do something just in 2 hours so we don't get those kids tired, but it changes their life forever? So we had two obsessions. Number one, we have to really learn and understand how kids learn, right? That's number one. And number two, that was my personal obsession. That's what's related to your question, is how do we make it in a way which is very high level of energy? So we not only connect to the bodies of those kids, but we connect to their spiritual essence.
Wow.
And it's funny because nobody has ever asked me that question, and I've never had to think this way about this, but this is always what I had in mind. So when we start this workshop, every time we go and we start a workshop with a group of kids, we actually start jumping, singing, and the kids, you just see the smile of the kids, regardless of their condition, regardless of the level of poverty, regardless of if it's the suburban community or in the indigenous communities in the mountains. We start in a level in which we connect with their spirit.
Love that.
Really, like that. And then we go, obviously, I mean, after there's the initial minutes, and we have so much fun in the first minutes, and then we play, we dance, we sing together, we tell them stories, they tell us stories, we ask a lot of questions. And at the end, and then it's also, again, she didn't know anything, you didn't know anything, Joni. We do a meditation. We do a meditation.
Wow.
So why do we do such a disruptive thing? Or do we say, I mean, who does meditation in the American schools every day? Probably nobody, right? Maybe a few.
Yeah.
So we said, maybe, I mean, it's going to be so difficult for us to really have meditation with the kids. So guess what? They're so close to source. It's so easy. It's so easy. We give those kids, it's just a magic moment in the workshop. We give those kids like 4 or 5 instructions, like, you know, put your legs like this and put your hands here and close your eyes and listen to what I'm going to say if it's me delivering the workshop. And we have the most powerful magic moment of those 2 hours is the 20 minutes of meditation. And I have to confess something. It's difficult for me when I do it personally to stop the meditation, because I realize, I see the kids so connected. And obviously that meditation is a guided meditation, and we use very, very powerful affirmations in which we tell them, I'm whole, I'm complete, I love myself, I have a wonderful life, I have the life that I deserve the best. These kind of affirmations, obviously very well picked and worded. It's such a magic moment that I have a hard time stopping it.
I bet.
So, right there, I mean, exactly. We bring those kids to the spiritual place, or we connect with their spirituality. And I think that makes us completely different to anybody else that can be doing something.
So tell me a little bit about what happens when people work with you. And I know you work with some of the biggest CEOs of companies all around the world, and these incredible children which are so connected to source. What is the transformation? What's the change that you see with all the people you work with? Tell me about that.
Well, number one, everybody is so busy and they have so many things to do, and so they don't stop. You know, they don't stop. They just go and go and go and go. Whatever the rest of the world tells them to do, they do.
Right.
That's the number one thing. So I work with, talking about, like, you know, in the business world, I work with people that have 2 characteristics. And it's not related to the industry. It doesn't matter if they're making movies or if they are, you know, producing medical devices or manufacturing medical devices. So it's people that, number one, really want to change. Number two, people that have a higher purpose.
Yes.
I think that more and more people have a higher purpose when they are leading companies. That's my experience. So the kind of transformation I provide them with is a transformation in which they really believe that they can achieve anything in all the areas in their lives. But on a practical level, I'm a very practical guy, very practical guy.
Yeah.
My number one, let me give you the most important business advice I can give to anybody in the world.
Oh, all right.
It's 2 words. It's 2 words. Imperfect action. Imperfect action. You don't have to have everything figured out before you launch a product, before you launch a service, before you want to do anything with your life or with your business. You just have to do something. You just have to move. Just a minute ago, we were talking about relationships and why connecting with everybody else is so important. It's so relevant in our lives. If we weren't connected with the rest of the people, what kind of change would we make, right?
Right.
So this is exactly the same thing, the exact same message that I give my audience, CEOs of my kids. It's the same thing. Make imperfect action today. If you want to have a wonderful relationship, hey, go to a place where you will find more people right now. Stop talking to me. Do it now.
Just do it.
Just talk to anybody else that you have in your agenda for today. Cancel all those meetings and just go with that flow, with that message of going to somewhere, someplace, and stay there until something happens. Because the problem with today is not only not taking action, it's that we don't listen, Joni. We don't listen. We don't listen. If we were to listen to everybody, to everything that people tells us every single day, oh my God, we will learn so much. It's not a coincidence that someone comes and suddenly tells us something.
Yeah.
It's not a coincidence that, for instance, we're lining up on a Starbucks and the guy in front of us pays our bill, for instance.
Of course.
You know, there's so many messages. I'm sure that you talk about this to your audience all the time.
I do.
So there's so many messages coming to all of us all the time. So these 2 things, imperfect action that allows you to listen to what happens around you and to what people around you have to tell you. This is the most powerful piece of advice I have ever given and keep on giving everybody. So then who follows that piece of advice, right? Because if I want to transform their lives, they have to follow it, right? So not everybody follows that piece of advice. So it's very easy to know who really wants to transform their life or not. So then, what do I do? So I try to make this, this work together, this session together, the most practical possible. So that, if you really want to change, you have hired me to change your life, to change your business, we have to make changes, imperfect changes immediately.
Yes.
Immediately. So we change the route that we were supposed to follow in our business or our life, and we change it now. So, what are the different, how many other paths open in your life? Infinite.
Wow.
Infinite possibilities.
It's true.
And it's so simple, right? It's so simple that people don't do it.
So Angel is the person to go to if you want to transform, change your life. He is an inspiration to the world. He works with some of the most powerful people, CEOs of companies, and through his connection and understanding and incredible advice, he can change people's lives. And he has a track record where he has changed so many lives, and I just couldn't wait to bring him to express some of his, this is just a little bit, just a little inkling of all the wisdom and knowledge that he has and how he is able to direct and help people in the world change their lives from humble beginnings to the most advanced, and bring it all together and merge it. This is a powerful man to pay attention to in the future, and I'm so honored that you came and shared some of your wisdom and knowledge with us. Thank you, Angel.
No, thank you, Joni, for the opportunity. I mean, I'm really blessed that you allow me to be with you and with your audience. Thank you very much. Anything that I can do. Is
there anything you want to say that people can look you up and find out more about you?
Absolutely, thank you. So, it's very easy to find me. Just send an email to Angel, as in heaven. Angel @ Angel Ribo is my last name. R-I-B as in boy, O, angelribo.com. So that's my email address, very easy. And if you want to know more about my foundation, Wisdom for Kids, you just go to wisdomforkids.today. Wisdomforkids.today. In Spanish, if we have, probably we have people in the Spanish world or bilingual, it's niñossabios.org. niñossabios.org. But thank you so much for allowing me to be here.
Look up Angel. You will be so impressed. He is being so totally humble about everything right now, but he is an amazing being. Thank you so much, Angel.
Thank you.